Hello, all my crafty people out there. We've got a new project, of course, and my name, for anybody that hasn't been here before, my name is Stephanie, and I upcycle clothes, usually thrifted clothes, something I got at the thrift store, the Goodwill, um, any kind of yard sale. Anyway, we're just trying to save the world one piece of clothing at a time. These are some jeans, and you can't see them. They're just straight legs. But these are some jeans I got at American Thrift, as a matter of fact, for, not sure if you can see that, 99 cents. I'm not really sure why they were 99 cents. They're, I think they're Lee's. They've got a funny stretch right here in this area. But I mean, they're in good shape. They're petites, so they fit. They're a little baggy, but not too baggy. I like the pockets. What I want to do with these is something I've done in the past, but I want to do something more in fall colors. Something, or, well, it's winter now. It's dead winter now. I have this piece of fabric that I got on the sale rack, of course. I don't generally pay full price for fabric. But it's kind of, I don't know, it just reminds me of my childhood, kind of retro, like all the things that had mushrooms and oranges and browns on them. Anyway, point is, there's enough here to make 2 legs. So what I thought I would do is I would cut off the legs and replace it with this fabric. And I think it's a really cool looking fabric. I think it'll be very retro looking. Now, sometimes I've cut off parts. Sometimes I've inserted flares. But this time we're just going to cut completely off like we did the first lace pair. And do this. I think they'll be fun. And anyway, shouldn't take us too long. God help me for all the times I say that. And let's get going, have some fun. If you like this kind of content, upcycling, refashioning, attempts at sewing, then like, subscribe, and have fun with us. All right, everybody. I am testing out some bleaching processes. I want to do some bleaching on these pants, and then I'm going to go a step further and I'm going to dye them probably a cocoa kind of brown or something like that to really bring out the bleached areas. I've tried these stencils. This stencil was a little too detailed, as you can see. It came out, but it's blurry. This one was this bigger one, and it came out better. Both of them I used a spray bottle with, but this spray bottle does not have the nozzle control I need. It's pure bleach. That is one thing you probably want to know. I have tried a paintbrush and got this out, which is just just a name. And so I got that to work. But I think this one's my favorite. The way this came out, even with the speckling. So what I think I'm going to do, here's the plan. First I'm going to dry this off so I don't have any excess bleach left over. And take the little thing I have in the back. My husband's throwing corn to the chickens so they get in the shot. They're down there. You can't see them, but they're down there. Nope, you might see a tail feather. Anyway, so once I've got this cleaned off, I just don't want any excess bleach. I'm not too worried about excess bleach, and here's why. I think I kind of like that speckled look, so I might spray the jeans anyway. But for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just, I'm going to do some outlining of these pockets to make them stand out. And I'm just going to do that with a little bit of painting. And I just want to kind of outline these pockets I'm just going with the seam, and I'm using a full concentration, full 100% concentration of bleach. I'm working here, ladies. And then I might just go ahead and bleach all that, because I kind of like that stripe there. And I'm not putting anything between the pocket and the pants on this particular process, only because this is really thick. And it's a pocket, so it's on top of the... Sorry, there goes an airplane. It's on top of the jeans. So, working outside is noisy. Ladies, I am sure y'all could find someplace else to go feed. There's plenty of worms in the neighbor's yard. So we're just bleaching out this stripe in the pocket that's part of the design anyway. Okay. And then try to decide, I think I'm going to go around the pocket just on the seam lines, just to give them a little extra. And I'm just going on the seam line. Of course, I'm not being very creative here. The stencils I'm not 100% sold on, so we'll work with those when we get a chance. I might do them on here. The first thing I want to do, like I said, is just kind of outline this pocket and make it stand out. All right. And you can see it's already starting to bleach out, obviously this part for sure. So I have a piece of cardboard here, and I have that daisy that came out really good, but I can't decide if I want to put that somewhere, especially since I'm going to be cutting the majority of this off. Let's see what it would look like if I had it over here. Maybe on the side. I don't know if I've got enough room for it. Well, not sure. Let's get this part bleached first, and then we'll work on a stencil. Okay, everybody, I washed them and dried them, and I think they turned out pretty cool. I mean, the flowers didn't turn out too detailed, and if I wanted to take fabric paint, I could paint over them and make them look really funky, I guess. But they were just kind of an experiment. I'm real happy with the pockets and the front, the way it's outlined, and the strips, you know, the belt loops are outlined. I think these are going to be great for this upcycle. I just wanted to do something other than black jeans. You know what I mean? So, and they're just Lee Riders. They're not expensive jeans. They really weren't expensive at the thrift store. Not really sure why they were 99 cents. I haven't found any flaws on them, like big holes or so I don't know why they were 99 cents. But the majority of them is going to be cut off anyway. And what I did, I don't know if you can see, the line's kind of been, well, you can see it pretty good on camera. I have stood up in front of the camera, in front of the mirror, and kind of measured where I want the fabric leg to start. And that's about where I want it to start, which is right below my pocket. My pocket's end about here. So I'd say, obviously we're not going to cut the crotch line off, so we're probably just going to cut it right about here. That's a little above, maybe. Got to remember, when you're doing it by yourself, you don't know what you're going to get, do you? So I'm folding them in half. I'm trying to make sure they're half both ways. And we've done this a few times, so we're just going to make a super strong cut of this. Don't know if there's anything I should measure by, like the straight leg of the side, or don't know if there's anything like that really. Probably, but we're going to make simple work of this. Take our handy dandy ruler with the lip on the side of it, and our rotary cutter. And we're not going to give it too much room because I want this to be kind of high on the leg. So as long as these two down here are even, then we'll know that the cut should be even. You know what I mean? Because that's that bottom hem that you're concerned about for the straightness of that leg. So let's pull it up a little. And we'll just make sure we've got those nice and even. Don't want to cut off the wrong way. And I'm going to start here. Actually, I'm going to start about here. Am I? Try to think how much of this do I want to salvage. Let's start off here, leaving about 2.5 inches there. I want pretty much the entire leg to be replaced. So this probably would be a good job for my new scissors that I still haven't broken out. Just trying to get through these seam lines. And come on. There we go. All right. This is my test pieces. This is my pants. Now some Super Daisy Dukes. And what we're going to do is we're going to make our two legs. And in all honesty, I am going to cut this piece of fabric in half. This piece of fabric happens to be, I believe it's just under a yard. It's about 28 inches. And this is the salvage end down here. So if I fold it in half proper, it's about 28 inches long, or wide, I should say, where you would usually measure your yardage. And this is a 28, yeah, about 28 inches. And it is a long piece of fabric. This is not the standard 44, 42. I believe this is closer, obviously, to a 60. Because there's my 30-inch mark right there. So it's a 60-inch width. In other words, if you open the fabric up, that's a whole 60 inches. That's nice. Like I said, I found this on the sale rack, It might have even been 75% off. So it was super inexpensive. I don't even know if I paid a couple of dollars for it. So I'm going to cut it on the fold, opposite of the biased, or the salvage, I should say, opposite of the salvage. I'm going to cut it there, and that's where we're going to start our legs. I'm going to leave them unhemmed. And this fabric has, because this is the salvage, I think it's going to look kind of cool if it frays. I'm going to iron it to make sure it pops out and it's not folded there. And then that might mean that I'll need to adjust it from this end when I cut it, if I don't want to hem it and leave this salvage, just to make sure it's the right length for my leg. Which, oddly enough, these were petites, not something I find all the time. So this should actually be the length I need the leg to be. So we should be able to just use this as our measurement. All right. I am going to start by ironing this. So I'll be right back. Let me iron this. It's kind of funky fabric. It's even got some like gold fleck in it and stuff like that. But I don't want to burn it. So I'm going to put the iron on a low heat. And I'll be right back after I make sure that salvage is nice and flat. All right, as we discussed, I'm going to use one of the legs that I cut off as my pattern, per se, for the length. So, I'm leaving this fringe down here. Like I said, this is the salvage end, so it shouldn't fray, and I kind of like the fuzzy look down there. And I have lined this piece of fabric up on my grid to make sure it's nice and even. What I did is I folded it over on top of each other. So it's folded it twice, essentially, so it'll be easier to see and cut. I won't have that long 28 inches to concern myself with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get right on top of this line. And if it's a little, actually, I'm going to give it a little 1/2 inch. Right? Because you always want your 1/2 inch for your seam allowance. 5/8 inch. And it really won't matter if it's a little long, because I'll probably wear this with boots. So I'm feeling that's pretty good. What this is going to do is it's going to give me 2 pieces, and it's going to cut this fold off to do that. So, all right, let's be brave. I also don't know what this fabric's going to do since I haven't cut it yet. I mean, on the sides it's not fraying. That's pretty good. It doesn't seem to be interested in fraying at all, really. It does stretch. When you stretch it, it pulls the stripes apart a little. But I'm just going to be careful not to stretch it. But it's cool fabric. It's got blues and oranges and grays and gold and cream in it. I don't think it's coming through on the camera that well, but it's cool. All right, now we've got our, quote, legs cut, because this will be 2 pieces. 1, 2. 1, 2. Now, the only other thing I got to kind of look at is, I tried to determine earlier, I think the ridges, the more outstanding ridges, are what you want on the outside. And this may be the inside, or at least that's the way I kind of want it to look. So, of course, there's more gold on this side. Well, no, not really. I can't decide. We'll make that decision when we get to the pinning part. So there's my 2 pieces of legs. And the only other decision I need to make is whether or not I'm going to seam these all the way up. In other words, a lot of my legs, I leave a nice little opening at the bottom to give them the extra movement, the extra flair. But I'm thinking I might sew these all the way up. I'm not gonna have them open on the sides. So I'm gonna make that leg and this leg. I'm gonna go over to the sewing machine and sew these together first, and then we will attach them to our legs. And what I'm going to do with the legs, I'm going to do something I usually don't do. I'm going to sew the leg inside, like we did the arms and the jacket inside here, and let this fray. I think that fraying will be cool, and I think it will fray. Let's pull. It's not got, it's like a 70-something% content. Let's see if it'll fray well. I'll just pull it some up here at the top. It's got a lot of spandex in it, so it might not, I don't know, it might not fray well. If it doesn't fray well, I think I'm just going to put the seams on the inside. We'll see in a minute. Like I said, let me get these legs made, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew them right down this side seam and create a leg. And then any excess fabric we have when we're putting them in place up here, which we will have some excess, there'll be quite a bit. We're just going to we're going to gather a little bit. Let's see how much we're going to need. We're going to gather intermittently just a little bit there, not a whole lot. Probably about a, let's see, probably about 2 inches worth, maybe a little less after I seam it together. I'm going to serge this, I think. I'm going to test it first because the serger might eat it. And we'll see how much I have in excess, because I could always cut off and make it fit better, but I do want it to be a little wider than the original leg. So let me go serge this. I'll meet you over there, and then we'll come back and figure out how exactly we're going to insert them into the jeans. All right, I'm going to sew the 2 panels together that are going to be our legs, and I've decided that I like the fuzzy bumpy part as opposed to that side, which this might be the right side, but I just kind of like this fuzzy look. So that's going to be the right side. So I'm going to put right sides together, and I'm going to serge both of these legs, and then we'll decide what we're going to do to get them in the pants. Oh, and I found a neat little tool that you might think's pretty funny when we talk about how I'm going to get the jeans to fray, because I really do want that look. I want them to fray. They're not going to fray great at first because of all the spandex, but I think I got an idea. So I'm going to run through this, and like I said, once I get these done, we'll meet back over at the table to decide how we're putting them in the legs. Okay? Alright, I got the legs made, and they are turned wrong side out, and I'm going to tell you why. Well, that one's wrong side out. I'm fixing to turn this one wrong side out. And you know how we want to insert them into the pants and let the pants fray on the edges, which, by the way, I'm going to show y'all a little tool I found in my drawers in there that does great for catching that and starting it fraying. What I have trouble with is when I have to insert the leg into the leg from the, if I do it from the right side of the pants, it's kind of a blind sewing. So you need to either mark the fabric that you're putting into this leg so you'll know how far you are and make it even, or that's kind of hard to do with this fabric. It doesn't mark very well. So what I did is I turned the pants inside out, and it's pretty easy to mark this line on this black, and that way I'll know when I'm putting them together, right sides to wrong sides, because when I turn it inside out, I'm going to turn the whole pants inside out, and this will be right side out. This way I can line up my top here with this line and pin it and know that I've got the right seam allowance all the way around. And I'm doing 3/4 of an inch, and the reason I'm doing so much is because some of this is going to fray. So I will probably double stitch this down just for security purposes, but also, you know, like I said, this will fray, and it only fray to a point. Denim does not fray forever. It does have a stop point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the seam line that I serged, and I'm going to put it over here on the inseam right here. It's hard to see because it's turned around. And I'm going to start pinning, and I'm going to start pinning with that meeting the top of that line, so I know that I'm doing the 3/4 inch seam. And I'm going to just keep doing it. Now I'm going to have some bulk left over near the end. I'm sorry, my fingers are so dry. Probably because I was working with bleach. But anyway, without gloves. I don't want to hear it. I know I should have worn gloves. So I'm going to pin it all the way around. And then when I get to the end, I'm going to figure out how much bulk I have. And I might just distribute it among the leg and not put it in one spot like on the side or anything like that. So this is going to take me a little bit. I just want to let you know this is how I'm going to pin it. So I'm going to pin it using this line, and that should keep our seam allowance even. So let me finish pinning. I'll come back with y'all when I've got it pinned and we know how much bulk we're dealing with, and we can realign it, readjust it in there. Okay, I ended up with a little bit of bulk, and it's going to be hard to see with these stripes. But what I did is I ended up taking up a couple of little pleats there on each side, and it wasn't really a lot. It ended up being like 1.5 inches, which is probably about 3 inches, but when you divide 3 inches up into these little pleats, it's not a lot at all. So that is completely on, and I've got the line drawn for the second one. And I'm going to, I think I'm going to sew this one on first and then come back and pin this one on, only because it's just going to be in the way. And then we'll finish up with the magic tool that I found. And you won't believe where. It's going to be funny, but it did seem to help with the fraying start. And then washing will just progress that. So let me go get this sewn on, see how it looks, and then I'll pin the second one on and sew it on. Okay, I've taken the extra part of my arm off, and I'm going to insert from the jean side because it's the shorter end. Be less fabric on my machine. Try to make sure we don't have, oh, there's the extra leg. Don't need that right now. Oof. Throw it back up there so we can pin it in a minute. Hopefully. And I'm just going to make sure I get this. I think it's buttoned. Let me unbutton it. That'll help a lot. There we go. Now, we're just going to pull it up here. I'm going to run my needle. I'm going to run my needle over these pleats first. Just to, you know what? This jean is too thick. I think I'm going to run it from this side. So we're going to go with the fabric side just for the fact that it will bunch up on here a lot easier than this denim does. Either way, got to get it all up here to get them to sew around. And like I said, I think I'm going to start over here where the pleats are and get them secured first, and any excess that I'll have will come in behind these or at the seam, depending on how I stop. Should be behind these because we're going to go completely around. So to get started, make sure everything's lined up. I'm going to put my my petal right on the edge of the fabric, and I think I'm going to leave it in the center because that should give me more than enough room. And I will probably double stitch from the top. When I turn them inside out, I'll double stitch from the top as well, just to make sure. I've just got black thread on here. So let's get started. Cross your fingers. Not worried about back stitching because I'm going to be sewing in the round, so I'm going to come back over the top of that. Alright. It's going to take a little bit. I'm going to take my time going over these pleats, and we'll get back together when I'm either sewing the second leg or finishing up. Alright, we've added our legs, and they came out pretty good. It's kind of hard to see from this angle. But what I want to do is I want to go back and I'm going to top stitch right next to the seam that I already made to just give it that extra security. And denim's always double stitched anyway. I'm not top stitching, I'm sorry. I'm double stitching. I'm doing a second row stitching beside the one that I originally did, just to give it extra security and a better look. And then when it then we'll go back to the table and I'll show you how I'm going to start fraying this, and I hope that I can do it without interrupting this fabric because it's so cool. Anyway, we'll go to the table next. Like I said, I'm just going to run a stitch right beside this one, probably about a 1/4 inch beside it, just to give it a little more. Okay, everybody, all the sewing is done, so our legs are in place, and I'm going to try them on for you in just a minute, but I wanted to show you how I was going to start the fraying. Okay, that's already starting to fray on its own just from the wear of me using it and going through the machine. But I'm going to show you on one of the legs what I have found. You see this? This is actually a little tool that's used to clean out hairbrushes. It's metal. It's rough. But it's nice and stiff where it can grab hold to the little fabric pieces. So I'll show you on one that hasn't been frayed yet. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm just going to comb it. And it starts to catch all of the little fabric pieces, all the little fibers. And then as I pull it and it gets more frayed, then I will clip the edges of the long pieces off, and the little pieces that are left will fuzz up as I wash them. So never thought about using this for this particular purpose, but it works pretty well. I'll include it on my description for where I got it. I'm pretty sure I got it on Amazon, but it's a neat little tool for this process. So the tricky part to this part of the pants is going to be not snagging this. So I thought what I would do is I'd put my hand, well, not necessarily in that direction, but I just have to be really careful and maybe turn this under like this. If I turn it under like this, then there's no fabric to catch. And just run it like that and start the fraying process. See? Works pretty good. Can you see that? So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next 20 or 30 minutes, starting my fraying. And then I will try them on for y'all. Now, of course, they won't be perfectly frayed because they'll take a couple of washings to soften up that fringe. And then I'll try them on for y'all after I play around with the fringe or the fraying part, and we'll see how they turned out. Okay, this is what they turned out looking like. I think they're super cute. I had to take a really long angle. I used to just show the finished product and not my face. So this is a different camera angle. You're getting a wide view of the rest of my sewing room. Some of it. But I think they turned out super cute. And I like the bleaching, the flowers, the pockets. So hopefully everybody had some fun doing something different. Next time we're going to probably dye something. I just Didn't feel like dyeing these after I got them bleached. So if you like this kind of content, where we upcycle, up fashion, refashion, whatever you want to call it, like, subscribe, and follow along. It's a lot of fun. And I will catch y'all on the flip side of our next project.